Good afternoon, and I want to thank our witnesses for being here today. Before we move on to discuss the role of government in housing and what kind of barriers may be hindering the housing market recovery, I believe we need to have an honest and open discussion about the harsh realities facing hundreds of thousands of hardworking families across our nation who have lost or are at risk of losing their homes. People are still being displaced, neighborhoods continue to fall apart in some parts of our country, and communities are still suffering due to the foreclosure crisis and the devastating economic conditions facing our nation's housing system. Since we are all familiar with the current housing situation, I think we should use this platform as a venue to discuss ways to ameliorate the housing crisis and restore faith in America's housing system. I would like to be clear about something. Contrary to what some of my colleagues may believe, I do not believe that the government is hampering the recovery by placing burdensome barriers and driving away private investment in the housing market. Let me join the voices of those wiser and more expert on this subject, and I mean the voices of the Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission. It stated, the government did not cause the collapse of the housing bubble. Importantly, there is also consensus among the majority of the members of the commission that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac were not primary causes. And lastly, they concluded, the Community Reinvestment Act was not a significant factor. Today, our government is serving the housing market in a time when private capital is scarce. Since the Federal Housing Authority, FHA, was created in 1934 to serve the housing market in a time of financial crisis, it has worked hard to ensure the housing finance credit is available to the American workers. And I would like to thank them, as I was able to obtain my first home because of FHA. We are now once again in a time of financial crisis, and the FHA is doing what it was created to do: make housing credit available to help struggling homeowners avoid foreclosure. Our government needs to continue to play the crucial role of providing homeowners with the assistance they need during these tough economic times. At this moment, if the government were to leave the housing market, let me reiterate, if the government were to leave the housing market, there is no assurance that private investment would take its formidable place to help families save their homes. So as we move forward and look at ways to bring back the housing market to recovery, we need to give thoughtful consideration to real solutions that will help hardworking families protect. We have seen the devastating effect of lack of credit. Ask business people. It's my belief the same would happen in terms of housing. I would like to just take a moment and introduce this draft. It's the summary of conclusions of the Financial Crisis Inquiry Commission. It has the majority report. I would just like to say, importantly, the majority, 3 out of the 4 dissenters, concluded that Fannie Mae were not primary causes, and they were Republicans. This is a bipartisan group of people, much wiser and much smarter than many others on the issues. And I would just like to read the second dissent, Wallison. There was one person who did blame Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, Mr. Wallison. This dissident blamed the crisis on the government housing policy, a factor that all the other commissioners concluded was not a primary cause, and concluded that almost all of the causes on which the majority report and the first dissent agreed were not primary causes. I'd like to ask unanimous consent to introduce this. And thank you so much for calling this valuable hearing, Madam Chair.
Without objection.